could you use extra time to make more revenue and improve your quality of life? Most business owners and entrepreneurs don't jump into this crazy lifestyle because we just want to. There is an aspect of freedom of time. There's an aspect of peace. There's an aspect of wanting to be able to travel while income is working for itself. There's reasons why we step into this entrepreneurship life. And often we will find ourselves boggled down more than what we were, even when we were working maybe a full-time role, because we won't delegate and we won't trust the process of being able to make more revenue.
You're listening to the Black to Business podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall.
Most business owners are control freaks. But the reality is that if you want to grow your business, you have to stop trying to do everything yourself. This will only kill your ability to sell, scale, and grow. And being that we at Black to Business are all about actually showing you how to fix the areas that you're struggling with, today we want to talk about the power of delegating in your business and learning how to release control. And we're even going to show you how to do it gradually. Today, Nicole Cater is joining us to lead the discussion on exactly how to hire a virtual assistant and use a virtual assistant to grow your business. Nicole is the founder of INC Management Group, an organization offering small businesses and entrepreneurs virtual administrative services to free up their time and to focus on the growth of their businesses. We're diving into what a virtual assistant actually is and isn't, and how they can differ from employees and contractors. Also, we're having a very honest conversation about some of the main reasons entrepreneurs don't outsource and how to actually budget for hiring a virtual assistant in your business. You know, I like to give you a heads up on when you might need something to take notes with, and this is actually another one of those episodes because Nicole came prepared. So let's dive in. So Nicole, welcome to the Black to Business podcast. I am very excited about today's episode, and I am excited to have you here. So welcome to this show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Monique. I am super excited to be here as well and look forward to all we're going to talk about today.
Yes. And today's topic is really exciting because we're going to talk about how to hire and use a virtual assistant in your business. And I first want to talk about your background. I like to get my audience a little familiar about who we're speaking to. So if you could just share a little bit about your background, your journey, how did you get where you are today, and what is it that you do in your business?
Absolutely. I would love to. So I actually started from a place of true servanthood. Started a little bit over 10 years ago. Initially, what happened was I was transferring out of corporate America. In a short period of time, I found myself with 3 kids, all in diapers. I had my first child, and the next thing I know, there was a set of twins coming behind him. And so with that being said, running up and down California as a regional director just was not going to work. And so we had decided that I would transition to being at home. And in that time of transition, there was many people that I serviced through the corporate sector. And just because of the aspect of my heart, when they were lacking certain behind the scenes administrative needs, I would assist with those so they could get some of these multi-million-dollar community development contracts. So what happened was I said, hey, I'm going to work from home, or actually I said I was going to transition to being at home. And some of these business owners reached out and said, hey, you know what, Nicole, you did some great things for us on a volunteer basis. We would love to contract with you. And that being said, here I am almost 11 years later with a viable business, a full staff, and have loved what I've done throughout this time frame and continue to love what I do to service small business and entrepreneurs with just the back end support that's needed.
Okay, so that was so amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk about a mother of 3 kids, balancing, thriving, love it, and then volunteering to serve, and then getting clients on top of that, and then having a full-time staff, and lastly, 10 years plus of experience. Listen, we don't bring just anybody on the show, y'all. So Nicole I am very excited about today. So thank you for sharing that. So I first want to start talking about your experience
the importance of hiring and delegating in your business. I know that's something that we talk about a lot, just in the entrepreneurship space, but I want to get your thoughts on why focusing on this matters and how important it is for the business owner.
Absolutely. It's interesting because the art of delegating, which I really do see it to be an art, is what truly allows a business owner to stop focusing on the minor details and instead really be able to focus on more strategic work for their business to grow, right? And there's some benefits to it. I mean, it's proven to kind of reduce stress. It's successful delegation allows you to hand over tasks to people that may be better skilled at it than you. But I understand, being a business owner myself, that most business owners and entrepreneurs, we are control freaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is that when you tell us to release something, there's this back side of our mind that's like, really, I think I could just do it myself. And that's what really can stop a business from developing. There's 5 main keys that I tell people when it comes to delegating as a small business owner. You need to, 1, figure out what you'd rather not do. The reality of it is, as a small business owner, there's tasks that I prefer not to do and really are not money-making tasks, but are still necessary in my business, right?
Right.
And then also choose whom you want to delegate it to wisely. And we're going to talk about that in the process of how do you determine a VA or so forth. And then make certain that your expectations are understood. And in that process, acknowledge the person that's taking over. I am an individual that's huge when it comes to gratitude and expressing those with those that are working around you. And the power and the art of delegating really comes from being able to appropriately pass off tasks that will allow you time to reflect, develop on strategies, and prepare for what's really ahead for your business while appreciating those that can support you in some of the minor details. And no matter how minor they are still helping you to progress in your business.
Yes. And I so agree. And I think that it's definitely a control thing. And like you said, like just gradually doing that. And I think also, what do you think preparation to outsource is a big thing as well? Making sure that your deliverables, your onboarding process is intact, like all of those things hinder business owners from prioritizing outsourcing as well.
Absolutely. I think organization, in my years of experience, I would say there's kind of 3 main reasons why a business owner just doesn't prioritize outsourcing or using a VA or delegating. One is they can't get past the whole release of control, right?
Right.
2 is that they aren't organized and they're really more so scared to pass on the mess of their situation, right? And then 3 is that the risk of it not being the exact same way that they feel like they would do it themselves or as fast as they believe they can get it done. And so for each of these reasons, I often tell people, if you want your business to grow, you have to stop trying to do it all yourself. Releasing control, the whole trying to get it all done, releasing control is what will allow you to actually get the job done, paid, and successful. When we look at like the life of an entrepreneur, oftentimes I often refer to this t-shirt designer. When I first started the business, and one of the first clients that I actually went out and got for myself was a t-shirt designer. He had a storefront in the community, was utilized often. I came in contact with him with the nonprofit that I was serving at, and we would order hundreds of t-shirts. And what would happen was 3-4 months later down the road, I'm ready to order another set of t-shirts. And I realized we never paid for the last set. Like, I don't remember ever even getting the invoice, right?
Wow.
And so, yes, you would think like this guy is in business to make money. You would imagine that these are, when we're ordering 100 t-shirts, that's $2,000, $3,000 sitting on his books that I didn't even receive an invoice for. And so that is a prime example of when you're not able to release control and you're trying to do it all. You're trying to get the job done, right? So he's trying to print these t-shirts, design them. He's trying to get paid. at some point, an invoice has to get sent. You may even have to do collections. He has to do the accounting. He also probably has to do maintenance on his printing machines, maintenance on his equipment, considering maintaining his building, talk to his suppliers, and then we didn't even talk about like marketing and actually promoting himself. Goodness gracious, if he actually has social media consistent, right?
Yes.
And so all of those things, when you imagine like one person doing it, we're really killing our ability to sell and scale and grow. And so that's what happens because we're afraid to release control. We don't do such. And we find that we may excel in the area. He was doing excellent. I mean, those t-shirts were designed lovely. There's a reason why we consistently used him. But the fact is that the main reason for him doing his service and making money, he was missing out on because he could not be consistent with doing all things.
Yes. And I have so many situations where I've ran into that before. And just hearing you list all of those things that, business owners don't even sometimes recognize all of the tasks that we're doing. And you going down that laundry list of things that he had to do. And I know some people are like, oh my God, this is my life. So we are all about solutions on the Black to Business podcast. And I know you're doing some amazing things to provide these solutions at the Ink Management Group. So I want to start talking about virtual assistants and just really defining what a virtual assistant is and what a virtual assistant isn't.
Absolutely. So a virtual assistant, as definition would be, is an independent contractor who provides professional, administrative, technical, creative, just assistance to clients remotely, right? I think the best way to really talk about a virtual assistant is, like you said, talk about what they're not, right?
Right.
So a VA is not your full-time employee. They are not responsible from, a set 8 to 5 to only work with you. They are not responsible to be at your event, be at your location. They may choose to, you may work that throughout the contract, but that is not generally the responsibility of a VA. A VA remains an independent contractor. Great benefit is that you're not paying or on the tax liability for them. But because they are an independent contractor, there are some ways that you have to treat them differently. A VA should not require a heavy load of training. It's more so, hey, this is the work. This is the SOP maybe on how I complete it, giving them a standard operating procedure. But they should be well versed and well skilled to carry on that work independently on their own. So that's some of the main things about a VA is that you don't necessarily have the, I want to say, day-to-day directives as you would with an employee.
Yes, great breakdown. And yeah, because my next question was about the differences between the freelancer, the full-time employee, and the virtual assistant, and you kind of broke that down. Now, what are the pros and cons? You mentioned some of them, but any additional pros and cons of a virtual assistant versus maybe whether you're thinking about you should probably hire somebody that is full-time, and how do you determine which is right for your business?
Absolutely. So, wow, there's a lot to say there. I think the first thing is I'm going to go back just a little bit between the VA, because you brought up something, the freelancer and the full-time employee.
Yes.
So in those, not part-time or full-time, do VAs often work. They're kind of based on the skills you need, again, are meant to require little direction from you, right? When we looked at in comparison to a freelancer is very much so project-based. You typically will get a VA that is in on your business, is your back-end support, is there to know the ins and outs of your business. But a freelancer is kind of like that person like, hey, I need a one-time flyer done. Can you provide this flyer, right?
Right.
And then some of the differences or the main reason why an individual will go with a VA versus a full-time employee is really just where you're at in your state of your business, in addition to the cost associated. So when I often talk to people about, the VA and the reality of it, of the cost for a VA versus a full-time employee, there's things to consider. When you carry on an employee, you have healthcare costs, you have taxes, workers' compensation. You're now talking about paid vacation leave, paid sick leave. There's overtime, holiday, your general payroll costs. Then if you're doing any type of life insurance for them, office expenses, office equipment. These are all the things to be considered when you're saying, do I need an employee or a VA? Because often as a business owner, we say, I want somebody that can answer my beckoning call, right?
Right. Yes.
The thing is, can you pay for that person to answer your beckoning call? And it's not just, okay, I'm going to get somebody at, $15, $20 an hour. What it really is that $20 an hour, when you add these other components onto it, it often can look double that, like $40 an hour. So that's a key thing to consider when even talking VA versus full-time. Now, there are truly some pros with a virtual assistant. Most virtual assistants are diverse in their sets of skills. For example, myself, I spend my own money for training and education and staying up to date with new things that are being released. And so I have a diverse set of skills. If you need me to write copy, I can. If I need to design graphics, I can. If I need to send an email campaign, if I need to talk to a customer, these are all diverse set of skills. Often when you get a full-time employee, you hire for what? A direct position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we all know the kind of running joke like, hey, this is not in my job description. Well, that doesn't really happen very much for a VA. The reality is that a VA is there to support you in every way they can. And often because of the diverse skill set, you kind of get away from that like bottom line of the job description that says like, and all other things that people often don't want to refer to. The other pro of a VA is, depending on your need, you can contract the VA with a flexible work schedule. There's VAs that will only allow you to pay them for the actual hours used. There's VAs that will only work based on, project based. There's VAs with monthly retainers that gives you open access and availability. So for all of these methods, you can ensure a way to stay within your budget. A VA also will allow you to save money on training. I talked about it just now, how not only for myself, but having a team of virtual assistants, I have a set budget in which I send them off for trainings. I ensure that they're keeping various certifications. When Facebook releases something new, guess who's the first one? Like, hey, let's find a class. Let's talk to Facebook. What are we doing here? Let's research. Let's get this information. So often as the client, it translates to them that I'm now empowering you because I'm spending time taking the education and the training and giving it to you for your business.
You just really, really broke that down, and I appreciate it because I was learning some things through that. And I love that you are setting the example and doing that extra training for you and your staff. So that's something to know because I really did not know that. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. And I can't be a bliss to say that there's not any cons to a VA. I mean, the reality of it is everything has pros and cons in life, right?
Yes.
But, when I consider the cons of the VA, one of the most common one is as a business owner, not being able to fully track the hours or either confirming like the actual work and time frame it is to complete, right? So especially if you are working with a VA that's kind of on an hourly work schedule, the main thing that I've seen in my experience when clients come to me, they've experienced VAs where they don't feel like their hours are justifying the work, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's many wonderful tracking tools for such that you can utilize with the VA, but because they are technically independent contractors, if they are not willing to release their tracking tool, their, how they're documenting projects, they don't technically have to. Now, if you get somebody with full integrity, kind of like the way my company does, every month you get a report like these were the hours. This is, and if you ask for the breakdown, I can literally say there was 12 minutes spent on this graphic design, right? But not every VA service is like that. So that is one of the main cons that I've heard of and experienced, is that not being able to fully kind of track the hours. Now, when we think about full time, we also have that. I mean, it's funny. I went to the store the other day and I was laughing because I thought the girl was at the register talking to me. But in reality, we had her like watch, and she was talking through the watch, and she was literally on a phone call while she was, ringing up my stuff.
Wow.
And so think about that. Like, she is a full-time, part-time employee of that store, and she's not fully 100% working on that store's, main thing. So we find that whether it's part-time, full-time, VA, it just helps the best to have communication and tools in place to kind of work through that con.
Yeah. Any recommendations on some of your favorite tools to do that?
Absolutely. So all of my team, we all use Toggle. Toggle is yes, I'm all about apps, and especially apps that offer free tools for those that are on business budgets, and allow you to scale up. But I love Toggle. Toggle, they can literally, when they're switching, especially as a VA, we may switch from one client to the next client. We just simply adjust that we're from this client's work to this client's work. We're working on social media. We're working on an email. Hey, I'm now doing customer service outreach. So it allows a good view. And because I'm a very visual person, I love the way the reports come out.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, that would be my recommended.
Love that. So I'll be sure to put those in the show notes. And now I want to talk about, you kind of touched on the costs, what some of the costs that people may incur in thinking about pricing. But I want to really dive into, when do you know you're ready to hire a virtual assistant in your business? And also, how do you know if you can afford to hire a virtual VA?
Absolutely. So the main thing to know when you're ready is there's kind of like 4 or 5 questions I ask. Often, if you're even thinking about it, you're probably ready. Here's the secret I found out to it, is that you as a entrepreneur business owner will never really say that you're ready.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yes, the reality of it is you and again, because I'm one, I have multiple. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So we have INC Inc. Management Group, but we also do a rental car business. We also have sports videography business. So we have a lot kind of going through our household on a plate, right?
Yes.
And I fully understand that when it comes to taking time to organize and even thinking about how am I going to delegate this to someone else, we will talk ourselves out of it and believe that we're not ready because we don't have the systems outlined. When the reality is that same person that you need to hire will outline those systems for you and will help you walk through the process of even creating your standard operating procedures, your process and procedures on how to deal with maybe your clients, or how you are releasing content. That person will help you with such. So the main questions to ask yourself is, do you have too much to do? Would it be nice if you could free up your time from busy work so you could get back to the work you really love, which typically for a business owner is the actual job of doing, right? Prime example, again, is the t-shirt guy. He loved making t-shirts. He was horrible at all other components, right? But that's what he loved, right? And so why force him to do the other components when he's at a place that it's actually hurting him by not utilizing and delegating outside? And then could you use extra time to make more revenue and improve your quality of life? Most business owners and entrepreneurs don't jump into this crazy lifestyle because we just want to. There is an aspect of freedom of time. There's an aspect of peace. There's an aspect of wanting to be able to travel while income is working for itself. There's reasons why we step into this entrepreneurship life. And often we will find ourselves boggled down more than what we were, even when we were working maybe a full-time role, because we won't delegate and we won't trust the process of being able to make more revenue. And if I use that t-shirt guy as an example, by him focusing on just doing the t-shirts, he was able to take on our VA services. We took on his accounting. We took on his marketing. So the same things that he couldn't do, like actually tell other people in the community of his service and take on more clients because he now had time to make more shirts, we were able to do for him. So that same money that he invested within INC for VAs, here we are less than, I think our exact time frame was 97 days. He had tripled his profit numbers.
Wow.
One, based on us being able to market appropriately, and for him to be able to do what he does and make t-shirts. So he now had more time to do that. Two, us being able to do proper accounting was a huge thing for him. Proper accounting, assess late fees. The reality is, if somebody is late in paying you, they understand that there should be a fee attached to that. Even just inputting those late fees, doing proper collections, not letting money sit on the books. In those areas, we were able to help him increase. So now he has tripled his income. It was the best thing ever for him to hire a VA, right?
Clearly, if he's missing the invoices in the bag, there is a sure sign that he needs.
Yes. And it also can go the flip way. I have had clients that are, they are on top of those invoices. They're not going to miss that. But then the delivery part, after you've gotten the money from the person, how is your business integrity and name standing? Because are you coming through with every aspect that you're promising when you're receiving those funds?
Yes.
And so all of those things are to be considered when wondering if it's time for a VA. And then, of course, as a business owner, we question, can we afford it? You may be listening to me right now and you may be saying, Nicole, obviously I want more time. Obviously I have too much to do. Like, yes, I know I need a VA, right? But then you're like, where is this money going to come from? And so one of the first things is to just determine the amount of money you can currently devote and be realistic with your base figure of what you can afford right now. The reality is that often what we really want, we can find a way to afford, right? And so even if your base is, I can only start off with $400 a month for a VA. What I would do is take my budget of $400 a month, outline the tasks that are most important to me to allow me to bring in or push more revenue, and then go search for a VA that can fulfill those tasks within your budget so that you can grow. Now, here at INC, we push, and our motto here is we grow as you grow. Our plans are strategically designed for month to month. And you can change your plan with just a 14-day notice. And we always say that goes for increase or decrease, because I understand as a small business owner, sometimes we have seasons, right? I think in life in general, we have seasons.
Right.
And so for my accountants right now, we are crazy servicing our accountants. It is a high season. Everybody's preparing for taxes. We're getting things in line. So some of my accountants have increased to now there are packages that are 160 hours a month. But very realistically, in June or July, we may be back down to, hey, I only need 20 hours a month. I'm okay with that. But the thing is that you have to know what is your budget and what are the things that you absolutely need to help you grow, and really be able to realistically give some time for the VA to service you so that they can grow with you.
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that the seasons, because I do think that, myself, even in other areas of business, you think that if you're committing to something that's long term, but I like that you said that business is seasons, and this season might be more busier than the others. So I think that takes some of that pressure off for people who are listening, like go along with the season. And how she said, as you grow, that's when, you get more. So yes. I love that you mentioned that.
Absolutely.
Yes. And speaking of just budgeting, I want to just really dive more into how should one plan to budget for a virtual assistant? I know you mentioned the $400 a month. Like, how should they plan to prioritize creating a budget around a virtual assistant?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing, of course, is to know in general how much a VA can cost, right? So there's kind of 3 different tiers you'll see. You can have the literally like $5 to $7 an hour VA. Now, typically we know those are overseas based, and some of the challenges you may find with that is just the English fluency, the managing time zones, and really just the communication issues. For the most part, VAs at that range are really entry level. They typically don't have experience, and they are not going to be skilled in maybe the communication style of a US based VA, right? And so one of the things to just consider is what work will you have them do? If it's work like, hey, I just need you to research and provide me, get me 6 articles on this particular topic, they probably can do that well. If you're asking them to write out your content, then you may find that they don't carry the same slang or the same terms of language, if we want to say ebonics, right?
Yes.
that we may want to express in our content.
Yes.
And so that's something to be considered. And later I'll talk to you kind of about how we are structured and such. But the next level that you'll see is what we call your entry level task delegated type VA. They're typically the $15 to $25 an hour. They generally are a mix between US based or overseas. You will find that they're more apt to being able to do stuff like, hey, here's my content, post this on Constant Contact, or, send me a test, I'll approve it. They may be more apt to doing your graphics, but probably not the individual you want taking care of your customer service space, right? May not be your customer relationship management type person. And then we continue up to the higher tier plan, which is typically $25 an hour or more. And that is your seasoned, skilled VA that has extensive industry knowledge and you pretty much can turn your workload over to. So there's different ranges, and that's kind of what the budget looks like for them. One thing that I tell people is make sure that you, even if, let's say you're at that $400 budget, talk to the VA that maybe is $7 an hour, and also talk to the one that's $25 an hour, because you might find in there that there are some things that can be split delegation, or like into my company, you might find a VA agency that consists of both, right? And so here at INC, what we happen to do is we have account managers that are only US based. So our account managers handle all customer relationship. Everything that is completed, every piece of work goes through an account manager first before it sees the actual client. Now, servicing those account managers are VAs, and some of them may be overseas or some of them may be entry level. We also are accredited with many of our colleges for internship programs. So the work may be done by an overseas or intern, but your account manager is there with extensive skills to approve such. Because of that system, we're able to offer VA services within a proper mid-range, but also give you the high quality and extensive experience that you're looking for. So that's why I always say, don't assume, right? We all know kind of what the assuming thing can do. So make sure you reach out and gain information when you're looking for a service like such.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you broke that down, because I can definitely agree on the just dealing with people who are here in the US and just overseas. And I think it's really something I had to learn with trial and error, like the language barriers and just writing and content wise. But knowing which tasks to give and outsource to certain people is definitely something I agree with.
Absolutely. And I think the other main thing I would say is also consider the value of your time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
One of the things that when we talk about like the rich get richer, the wealthier get wealthy, right? The wealthier get wealthier, the value of time. This is something that in a mindset transition, my husband and I had to learn early on is what I can do and get $120 an hour for. Why would I be the one out there, maybe even as simple as like cleaning my house, right? Or writing my content. Now, unless I have a great joy for cleaning my house, I can take 1 hour of my time, and what I make in that 1 hour, I can now apply it to someone else to do that. And in our home, it might take them 4-6 hours, or it would take me 6 to 8 hours. So is that amount of money worth my 6 to 8 hours? So understanding the value of your time and kind of putting a dollar amount to what is the value of your time in comparison to the work that needs to be done will also help you make sure you can afford and understand your budget for the VA.
Yes, and there are people who love doing what you dislike. So, yes. And now that we know, preparing someone is listening, they're like, okay, I got the budget. I got what the virtual assistant does. I'm pretty clear. Now, what are some of the key things and tasks that virtual assistants can do?
Oh man. Okay. So there is a long list. I am going to actually refer, and it's a list listed on our website. There is 100% no cost. If you actually go to the incmanagementgroup.com, you'll find that we have a list that's 100 tasks. I think it's called 100 tasks for a VA, right? And it lays out literally 100 tasks that we do and tasks that a VA can do. The most popular is things like scheduling appointments, making phone calls, travel arrangements, email accounts, copy content, graphic design, blog writing, bookkeeping, social media, marketing services. Those are typically the most popular web design, web maintenance. Those are the most popular ones that you will see.
Yes, we heard the list. I was like, she is prepared with the list. I love it. And so some tips for determining the amount of hours of operation for a virtual assistant. I know you kind of mentioned that in the beginning. Anything else you wanted to say on that?
I think the main thing is that considering what hours do you work the most and what hours does your target audience communicate and respond the most. If you're somebody like me, I have a habit. I'm a late night person. So I probably get the best work done from like 10 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Yes.
And so that's just how I work best. So a personal assistant for me that is working from 8 to 2 may not always be the most ideal as a personal assistant because chances are I'm not the most responsive. I went to bed at 3 a.m. I may not be up at 8 a.m. So if I was getting a personal assistant VA, I wouldn't want someone within those hours. I may want a mid-hour so that they can respond to clients when they are most apt and communicative, but also respond to me when works best for me. On the flip side, if you're not working with me personally, my team that's doing work for clients are responsive during the daytime and where my target audience is communicating the most. So they're your typical maybe 8 to 5, 9 to 6. Some are even later because working with small business owners, many of them are still maintaining a full-time job while also launching their business. So it really depends on who's your target audience and what hours you work the most. That will help you be able to determine the hours that will work for you when operating with the VA.
Lovely. All right. So now that we have all of the things that we should think about, and one of the main questions I think a lot of people are concerned with is they're handing over these tasks and delegating and protection of their business and confidentiality. So any tips for protecting your business and confidentiality for outsourcing?
Yes. I may be a little bit partial for a particular reason because I do have a group or an agency format. But one thing is when you go with your personal one-on-one VA, it may sometimes leave you more susceptible to confidentiality issues. That person's not tied into typically a LLC. They typically are not legally binded. They typically are not insured when you're working with that one-on-one style VA. On the opposite side, when you're working with a company format similar to ours, we are pushing the NDA at you. We are, insured and bonded. We have legal backings, and we have even our individuals that work with us. I don't care if they're typing one word on a graphic. You're signing my confidentiality. You're signing my NDA. You're signing my non-competes. Like, we are pushing those things because as a whole, we have an entity to protect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing to consider. The other thing is just making sure you have those things in place. An NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, this is an agreement that kind of binds the contract of not disclosing the information or sensitive information that the VA may attain. A non-compete, ensuring that they don't compete with your customers. They feel like, now I know how to do this. Oh, now I'm going to go work for this person. Having that non-compete's important. Data policies, protecting your data. One ways that I always recommend is do the rule of least privilege, right? And what that basically means is that when you're outsourcing, take them in levels. Don't give them all the passwords at once. Don't give them all access at once. Like, take them in levels, very similar to, you know, the one that could be trusted with the least can be trusted with the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a good way to do it. And of course, use all these tools and platforms. I'm very big on LastPass and different tools that you can use to where you are not necessarily giving someone full access at the start.
Perfect. Love it. And now that we have all of the ways that we're going to protect, let's talk about the process of onboarding and delegating. So what are some of the things that should be done before onboarding a virtual assistant?
Absolutely. So first thing is to share the passion that drives your business. If they don't know your why, it's going to be hard for them to carry out your vision and your mission. And so it's important to share that with them. Take time to review your process and procedures. Be communicative. Talk about your do's and your don'ts, your likes and your dislikes. I'm particular when we are hiring. I am very forthcoming. I let them know, like, hey, here's the thing. I have a list of pet peeves, okay? First, like, if you do not respond, I don't care if it's like please do this, give me a smiley face, give me a thumbs up. Like, it's important to communicate those things because it will help you in the long run from having so many hiccups as you are working together. And also, just in the process of onboarding, make sure to establish regular meeting or connectivity times. Because this is in the virtual world, it can easily be caught up to where your VA is doing stuff and you haven't talked for 2-3 months, and you maybe have a brain download of things that you know you would like them to do, but you haven't communicated with the VA, and the VA is doing what they know to do. And so at some point you start to feel like, I'm not getting the full benefit, but really you haven't really had the chance to communicate. And so it's important to establish regular meetings, put them on the calendar, block that time out, have that connectivity time. Not only will it be good for communication and confirming project tools and things that are coming up, but it also helps develop a relationship even through a virtual stance. And so in that process, make sure you review your to-do list, set your expectation, and share. The main thing is share how you are going to measure productivity, set ideal goals that you both can agree upon. And so that way, you know, if we set goals 3 months later, we can talk about what was accomplished this first quarter. Did this meet my expectations? Were we productive in these areas? What do we need to change? The reality is that productivity would be the reason why you're doing it. So you want to make sure that you are communicating that in the process of your onboarding.
Yes. And speaking of productivity, I know you mentioned before, like some of the main reasons that people don't hire or the issues that they have is tracking. What are some tips for managing the productivity of a virtual assistant, and also your thoughts on when to let go?
Absolutely. So it's funny because your question really answers it in a sense, and it's going to sound like an oxymoron, but managing productivity, the best way to do it is really to let go. Letting go of control immediately and give it time for results. I know, like, this sounds kind of odd. It can seem super hard, especially for, again, I admit I'm a control freak. But
right.
As long as you have shared your experience, so shared your do's and don'ts, what you've learned from doing this in your business, you've given them, you know, lessons of an SOP or, you know, how your process and procedures are, you have to let them do what they do best and kind of let them be, right? Because what will happen is we will get into this micromanage form, and then we're not really managing productivity, we're managing activity. And that's when we become less on our own activity that's meant for us to grow the business. So let them do it. Now, make sure you have times. And typically when we start off with a new client, I meet with them more often than I would on a continuous basis. Maybe we're meeting once a week for the first month or two, and then we'll dial out to bi-weekly or once a month. But one of the reasons is to allow an opportunity to give honest feedback. When you as the business owner is clear and concise with your VA, that allows them to learn your style, your mode of operation. It provides them examples that they actually can pinpoint like, oh, I did this, you prefer this, and give room for growth and opportunity. The reality is, a small business owner, and Monique, I'm sure you can attest, like from where we started to where we may be today, there were lessons learned throughout the process.
Definitely.
Yes, like there are some things that I did at the very beginning that I'm like, I will never do that again. But I didn't learn that unless I was in the process or I was able to take off of somebody else's experience. And so there's some things that you're going to be able to teach your VA based on your experience in your do's and don'ts. And there's some things that your VA is just going to have to experience and learn what may work best for your business. Main thing is that when you're starting off with a VA, obviously you're not giving them something that's going to make or break your business. Now, it may be like, hey, you use this word in communicating with a client. I typically try not to use this word, or I use this language. That's not making or breaking your business, right? And so give them time to really develop. And the reality is, some of your best served individuals are the ones that you spent the most time with developing them.
That is so good. And that's so true. I agree. Everything you're saying through experience. It's just definitely about, I think, the open lines of communication, and also like when to let go. I've spoke about this before. Sometimes you hold on for too long, and that can be harsh on your business. That could be a detriment to your business. So I definitely agree with what you're saying, especially it answers the question in that if they're not productive, let it go. Let it go quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so now that we know that, now where do people go to first? Where do people go to look for virtual assistants?
Absolutely. So besides INC, one of the places, typically I would say you can Google just a VA based on what you're looking for. There are platforms that you can use, such as Fiverr and Freelance, but really, most of us that are in business, we are apt to social media. And considering what you may have your VA do, I do a lot of recruiting on Facebook and Instagram. There's a VA that is looking to truly establish themselves and is caring about the integrity behind what they do. They are making themselves public for access. And so by using Facebook or Instagram and these tools, you have an opportunity to check out any past reviews, to even go through. I am one of those people that will Facebook stalk. Like, I want to try and figure out, like, what is your integrity aspect? Like, what do you say, think, or do? What things do you support? Because that kind of lets me know in so many ways, will you potentially be a good match for our company or what I'm looking to do? So between the reviews that's given there, being able to kind of vet them a little bit before you even get in that process, I typically recommend you utilizing social media. You have Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram to gain more information.
Love it. And now that we know where to go and some things to do before onboarding a virtual assistant, I want to talk about the process of onboarding. What should that look like for someone who's bringing on a VA?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing is just setting up a call. Set up a discovery call, discuss with them your vision, again, the passion behind your business. Allow them to share the same with you. They should have some information to share. Very likened to a job interview. You are interviewing them and they really should be interviewing you. And then prepare for the time that you're going to have with them. One of the things is the way you kind of start the relationship with them. If you come in and you're like, hey, I'm interviewing you and I'm 5-10 minutes late. I'm not really prepared with what it is that I need. So I don't have a list of like things that I'm considering passing over to a VA. That VA will already start to feel like this may not be a good fit. because you're not being able to give them the tools that they will need to succeed. And most VAs are not in this to have a bad experience. And so make sure that if you set a time to meet with somebody, you're set a time, prepare for the call, have your, I's dotted and your T's crossed, laid out with what you're looking for. And make sure to do the follow-up. If you guys have discussed service and there's supposed to be a proposal or you were supposed to send something to them, just make sure to do the follow-up. Send them that email of, thank you for your time. This is a recap of the things we discussed. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to receiving your proposal. Just reiterating what it is that you've kind of discovered throughout that call and what it is that you're looking for.
Love it.
Yeah. And then, basically from there, at that point, the reality is if you sit and talk to somebody, sometimes it could be 2 minutes and I could say you're not a good fit, or it could be 30 minutes and you're a great fit, right? So the reality is by the time you're done with that call, you pretty much know, like, I'm signing this proposal. I'm not signing this proposal. Let me keep searching. And so that time will really help you.
Amazing. And I want to say that this has been so awesome. And I know we talked about before how prepared you were. I'm pretty sure people heard how prepared you were. You really broke down everything. And now I want to talk about some of the amazing things that you're doing at INC Management and helping entrepreneurs and business owners free up their time and really grow their business. So can you talk about your offerings and your process if someone wanted to work with you?
Absolutely. So here at INC, we service an array of, or a variety, I guess, of services. We, of course, have your standard VA in which we do all things. The way our business is set up is I'm truly designed to service in every way. I'm very particular about our team base. Our team base are brought on based on skill set. And so when someone comes to us, and let's say, Monique, you came and said, hey, I need a VA. I need you to maintain my website. I need you to maintain my social media management and also handle, my customer service, right?
Right.
And so one of the first things that we do is that when you and I have that call, I'm going to look at the things that's needed for each part of that role. Social media, we know it's going to need copy content. It's going to need graphics. It's going to need somebody to do engagement. For customer service, we know it's going to need somebody understanding your policies, being able to communicate very likened to the branding voice of your company, and manage your customers in such a sense. And so the way we bring our team members on is I have a copy content writer. All day, every day, they are focused on copy content. They are getting to know your business. They are researching, so giving valid informational content. We typically go with the lovely 80-20 rule, providing 80% value and information and 20% of a direct call to action for our social media clients. I have a graphic designer. They're all things graphics. Again, like I said, I'm very focused on training. And so we send them to consistent educational opportunities so they can stay up to date with, like, okay, how do I create my client's GIF now? Or as we're in this TikTok stage, right? How can I create TikTok going without my client having to physically do videos consistently? And so we have maybe a graphic designer. We will have an engagement specialist. That person is literally the ones that's sitting there saying, my job is to respond to these DMs. My job is to take the information from your website and be able to communicate it to someone in a private messaging format, taking them to a place until they're ready to communicate with you or your business one-on-one. And so the way our VAs is set up is very likened to that manner. We're skill-based. Every individual that signs on for services with us does obtain an account manager. And really what that account manager is there for is to be the middle person to make sure everything that we promised you, that we would service you and all of your needs for your business, the team is doing, and they are the ones that's screening and approving the work. And so that's really the best way for me to describe what we do here at INC is really, we're just here to provide full back-end support to any small business owner or entrepreneur.
I know someone is listening and they're like me and they're like, here, just take my whole business after that. Because you just really broke down all of the things that, really transform and grow a business seriously. Mm-hmm. So yes, thank you for sharing. And I wanted to ask, I forgot to ask about
how long, or is there a due date, I guess, on how long someone can have a virtual assistant? Or is it forever?
So it can truly be forever. I have a prime client that I reference to when I spoke initially of my transition from corporate. I have a CPA that is also a virtual CFO, and she started with me literally from my day one, and we still
Wow.
service her. Now, this individual, I'm going to be quite frank, she has a team of full-time employees now. Her business has scaled in miraculous ways over the past few years. But even with her full-time employees, it does not make sense to take out of our hands the things that we've done to help her business grow. So we still manage her social media. We still manage her website. We still manage her email campaigns. Even though she literally is in a corporate office with a full-time staff, she still uses our VA services. And so ideally, you want to find a relationship that someone can be your forever person. It may not be that they're forever doing the same style task, but they can be your forever person, because a true VA that's there to provide support is going to become relational, and they're going to really have the buy-in on your business.
Yes. And Nicole, speaking of, that long-term relationship that you've been able to have, that long-term client, and then also speaking about the t-shirt client and just all the value that you've given to us today, I'm pretty sure people are wondering just about how you have been able to continue to grow and maintain some of your favorite tools and resources that have really helped you in your journey.
Absolutely. So I would say some of my favorite tools has been Trello, a project management tool. Mm-hmm. I definitely am one that lays out or likes to lay out, here's my main goal. These are all the things that need to happen for the main goal. And then these are the people that I need to help make this happen, right?
Right.
Another tool is just for simple communication. Some people, there's many out there. There's ConvertKit, Thinkific. I'm a big MailerLite fan. It is cost efficient. You can build landing pages. You can manage your email campaigns. It's a great CRM to keep your interest based in one area. You can segment them according to various audience styles. And so MailerLite is a big one for me. I can probably talk about systems and tools all day long, but there are some tools that I recommend based on where you're currently at in your business. Now, if you are doing consistent courses, and if you're rolling out a course twice a month versus someone rolling out a course once a quarter, your need may be a little bit different. So those are things to consider, but that's some of my favorite tool management or system style base.
Thank you. I would definitely include those in the show notes. And Nicole, I want to ask you, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
Ooh, a whole lot.
Love it.
I am actually in the process of finishing my first book to be published.
Whoa, congrats.
Super excited for it. Thank you. And one of the things about it that I discuss is I was the young Black girl that actually was in the in-between state, because my parents were at a state where they were doing a bit better. Mm-hmm. To live in the good community at the time. Mind you, we're talking about the early 90s, right? Mm-hmm. I was in a community that was surrounded by people of other cultures and other race. And my only reflection of the Black community was, unfortunately, when we went to the other side of town, right? Or whether it was in a Black church, right? And so even as me as a mother right now, I'm so driven to want to change the narrative for our people, change the narrative to where it's not that because I have the money, I'm in this community where I don't see others that look like me. It's because we have the money, we can get into this community where there's many others that look like me. And so that is probably the best way for me to describe my passion behind being a Black business owner, wanting to change the narrative to what even sometimes our media will portray of our culture and our people, and making it be where this is what we really are. We are talented. We are intelligent. We are facet of many skills and gifts. There are so many great things about the people in our culture, and let's celebrate that.
So powerful. And I can truly say that, even just the way that you showed up today to pour into us, to pour into our audience, it speaks to what you were doing in your personal mission. So I definitely felt everything that you're saying. And we really appreciate you for pouring into us with your knowledge and your expertise and just your preparation.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'm so excited. I think I told you this before we even started. I value what you're doing here. I think that people are destroyed truly for a lack of knowledge, and you being able to have this platform where we can provide knowledge and tools and tricks is just incredible for doing exactly that, changing the dynamics of our people and our culture. So thank you.
You're welcome. You are welcome. And I'm pretty sure people are listening and they're wondering, how can they connect with you? How can they find you? And how can they support you?
Absolutely. So, of course, there's social media. I say, hey, go find me. My name is Nicole Cater. You can find me through social media, INC Management Group. Every one of our handles is Facebook, INC Management Group, Instagram, LinkedIn, so forth. Please like, follow, share. I do have a platform, Inspired and Ignited. You can find that on Facebook as well. That is a group, a community that's really designed for me to give the same life lessons out through just a community of individuals wanting to advance in career entrepreneurship. And then, of course, as always, you can find all of that information if you just simply go to incmanagementgroup.com.
Perfect. And thank you again, Nicole, so much. And to everyone listening, be sure to support and follow and like she said. And we appreciate you. So thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Didn't she just school us? I don't know about you, but I took away so much value from this conversation. And some of the key takeaways for me were the difference between a VA, freelancer, and employee, and how essentially a VA requires literally little direction. Also, the fact that they are diverse in their set of skills. A few other key things is that when considering outsourcing and hiring a VA, figure out what you'd rather not do and be honest. Choose whom you want to delegate those tasks to, as Nicole said. And when you do delegate, make sure that your expectations are understood. Also, how I mentioned in the beginning that sometimes we as entrepreneurs and business owners are control freaks. So you have to acknowledge that the person is taking over. You want to trust your decision to hire. This was so lovely, and we truly enjoyed showing up for you every week. Nicole provided some amazing resources, so be sure to check those out at blacktobusiness.com/80. If you really enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and tag us and Nicole on social media. Chat with you next week.